Excellent. Thank you, Mike. All right, I am going to show off the platform. This is the CloudCheckr CMx solution. Before I do that, a couple of quick items. So CloudCheckr is a cloud management platform, and what that means is it's a simplicity layer on top of the complicated cloud environments. CloudCheckr has been around for 10 years now, and we have seen a lot of changes in those 10 years. And we have grown in accordance with all of the recommendations and all of the capabilities that we've seen in the market. We make our changes to our platform based on what we're seeing. So CloudCheckr supports AWS, Azure, and GCP. We are also a SaaS platform that can be deployed into a variety of locations worldwide. So CloudCheckr has deployments in Germany, Australia, etc. We are available on the GovCloud, C2S Secret Cloud, a hardened high security environment, even a US FedRAMP very high security environment. So we can help organizations that have that level of security requirements. But the platform is really kind of designed to make life a lot easier for you, right? How many of you have heard of CloudCheckr or have used a cloud management platform in the past? If you can, toss some comments or questions into the chat, because we're going to answer those towards the end of the seminar. So orientation. The CloudCheckr CMx platform, on the left-hand side, this is the navigation. So these are the sections that you would have related to security or compliance, cost and billing, and automation, right? These are all the different major features of the CloudCheckr platform. And this is something that actually sets us apart right off the bat. Many of our competitors do only cost, or they focus very specifically on security. Which is great. Some of those tools are really fantastic. But CloudCheckr is a little bit different because we want to provide that simplicity layer and make sure that everybody has the capability to see into like infrastructure level security, compliance checks, cost and business analytics information, and resource utilization all in one platform. Makes life a lot easier for most people. In addition, we have a very robust hierarchy and account structure. So you can take a look at all of the accounts that you add to the CloudCheckr CMx platform. You can see very quickly whether or not they are configured correctly within the environment, pulling in information, pulling in inventory and resource data. And then you can create hierarchies, logical groupings of your accounts, of your business units, of your cost centers, of your regions, however you like to organize your data. In addition, on top of that, CloudCheckr has some very extensive tagging tools. So here in the cost module, we have an entire section for tagging. CloudCheckr has been doing some impressive items related to tagging for a very long time. So everybody, you probably know this, tagging is important to keep your organizations running well and well organized. And I've seen it all from a CloudCheckr perspective. And in fact, toss it in the chat. How many AWS accounts does your environment have? I'd be very curious to find out who has the most, who has the least. So to kind of set that stage, I've seen Fortune 500 companies that have 2 AWS accounts, production, pre-production, and everything else is labeled or separated out by tags. And I have seen the exact opposite. I have seen small mom and pop shops that basically don't understand tagging or didn't like tagging or were allergic to tagging. And by the time they came to the CloudCheckr table, they had over 3,000 AWS accounts and Azure subscriptions in their environment, right? Completely different organizations, and CloudCheckr has nice tools to help both of those types or styles of organizations. So the main page here is the CloudCheckr home page, and the home page has our dashboards, our best practices, and the cost savings all on one page. From a business analytics standpoint, one of the things that's really important is identifying costs, being able to track those costs, identify trends, see information related to costs, and do that as quickly as possible. So CloudCheckr has created a very simple, easy to use dashboard section, and it is cost specific. So I'm here, I'm looking at a test environment from an AWS setup, and I can see what's going on from the monthly services consumption. And you can see very quickly, I have lots of different trends, right? You can see information going back all the way to August 2020. You can see costs that are related to databases or compute resources or data analytics, and you can see those trends changing over time. In addition, I can see information related to more detail according to specific types of resources in the environment, according to what I choose. And then, of course, you can create different reports for different things, right? And these are quick, easy to use dashboards. So maybe I just want to take a look at my compute resources versus my databases. Maybe I want to take a look at trends over time and see spikes by region. Maybe I want to see savings plans. Maybe I want to see information just specifically related to weekly spend, how things are changing. It's a great capability to kind of set these up and get pieces of information very quickly and very easily. To make changes, super simple. You click on the edit button or you create a new tab, a new dashboard. You give it a name. You tell it what you're looking for, what providers you're interested in, AWS, Azure, GCP. You tell CloudCheckr what type of chart you're looking for, right? Donut chart or table or vertical bars, stacked, etc. You choose your date range, you choose previous information, how far back you want to go, and then you can do things like groupings, category limits. The limits would be how many items I want to see on the screen at one time. And then you can choose different categories. And for the categories, CloudCheckr is trying to make this as platform agnostic as possible. We are the last major independent cloud management platform. And one of the things that we try to do is we try to have a common nomenclature, right? So compute resources, most people know this. For AWS, that would be EC2 instances and Elastic Block Store. For Azure, it would be virtual machines, hard drives, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So you can change this, you can set these up, and you can see these pieces of information draw in your environment very quickly and very easily. The next page is the best practices, and this is one of the things that CloudCheckr is very well known for. In fact, when we go to trade shows like the big AWS reInvent or other big shows, when we were doing that, we would put our screens up in portrait mode so you can see more of our best practice checks because it's very visually appealing. So CloudCheckr will take information from the cloud providers. For example, if AWS Trusted Advisor was part of this demo environment, that would be included. It would appear as its own tab here. And then we would color code the information for you, right? Red would be a high priority problem that is unresolved. Orange and yellow are medium. And then blue is informational. And green means it's been resolved or does not pertain to this particular environment. So this tab is specifically related to cost items, and you can see that we are identifying potential problems related to idle systems or mismatch of certain types of items here. Basically areas that we can identify that can help you save money or identify cost optimization opportunities. For the security tab, we have a little bit more capabilities, especially for AWS. Literally hundreds of checks in this environment where we will identify potential problems across the board. In addition, let me show you, we have, for many of our checks, we have this little blue Fix Now capability. And the Fix Now gives us the capability to resolve items within the platform. So this is a check that is finding IAM users or group policies that have full admin privileges. If these are your admin groups, that's fine. But if someone has snuck into your environment and created their own group or their own policy or users, that can be a problem. And CloudCheckr is going to help identify those for you. In fact, CloudCheckr can actually resolve these items as well. So we have this capability here called a fix now. And what we can do here is you can set different workflows. So for example, you can have a junior level administrative team. That team can be responsible for monitoring the environment and requesting a fix or requesting some action. That action can go through the workflows and can go up to a senior level administrative team. And that senior level team can decide whether or not they actually want to take action on this particular item. Those actions would be, no, I don't want to take any action at all. Yes, I want to fix this particular problem one time, monitor it and see what would happen. And CloudCheckr is very transparent about the additional policy roles that you would need, that CloudCheckr would need to take action on your behalf. And we tell you exactly what action we're going to take. This one is basically a detaching a policy. But the big one here is this always fix now. And the always fix now is the capability to resolve an item, memorize the setting, and that way in the future you do not have to take any further action. So if this particular group here is not supposed to have full admin privileges, you can set this to always fix now, and then you can make sure in the future that that group never has full admin privileges. If for some reason it gets set incorrectly, CloudCheckr would know that's not what you want. Go ahead and it would remove that permission automatically and log it. And we have the option of logging it in a variety of ways, or even sending it to a ticketing system like ServiceNow, Jira, SNS, PagerDuty, Syslog, Slack, that type of thing. All right, lots of capabilities, and those capabilities, reminder, are highlights about potential problems, but also the capability of resolving many of these items too. So let's talk about cost optimization and cost savings, right? This is one of the things that many of the customers or organizations, they love to take a look at from a CloudCheckr perspective. This is one of the things they really want to see. So many organizations have what we call the Wild West. Right? You have a different department or a business unit or a group, and they're doing their own thing. They're providing their own resources, provisioning resources, making changes in the environment. And then all of those costs oftentimes will go to a central IT or a finance department. The finance department doesn't necessarily know what the individual departments are doing, and many times they just rubber stamp it, right? This is part of that FinOps concept. And you want to have a better understanding about what's going on in your environment, but in order to do that, you need to have better communication. You need possibly that cloud center of excellence. You need to have good information about what's going on. So a lot of organizations are still in that Wild West phase, where one department is doing one thing and the other department is paying for it, and they don't really know what's happening. CloudCheckr provides a centralized location for cost savings and cost optimization, which is fantastic. This is the spot that both teams can take a look at and identify areas where they might have missed something, resources that are idle, right? And you get to control what is considered idle in your environment. Or my favorite is unused resources, right? Unused resources, these are items that'll pop here under unused resources. These are things that are no longer attached correctly in your environment, right? You might have purchased them, you might have ordered them, you might have procured them, but they're either no longer working correctly, no longer attached to critical resources, or you've forgotten about it. My favorite is staff turnover. Sometimes you have a staff member that leaves, all the resources that they've procured, you might lose track of those. That's very common. Or a test environment. My favorite example here is we were working with a customer, a prospect, someone that was evaluating CloudCheckr using our 14-day proof of concept evaluation, free evaluation. and they connected their environment. They were telling us that they had this very large test environment that they had torn down 2 months ago, right? And when they looked at this, they saw unused resources, let's say load balancers, $70, IP addresses, 36, et cetera, et cetera. Elastic block store volumes, unattached elastic block store volumes, $60,000. They knew immediately what it was. They're like, oh man, 2 months ago, we tore down the entire environment. We took down all the EC2, we took down all of the networking, we took down everything. We must have forgot about the elastic block store volumes. Happens all the time. 60 grand is a big deal, right? Like that could have been a resume generating event for someone, right? And CloudCheckr was able to identify that literally in a matter of just a few hours for this person that was evaluating our platform. And it showcased the true value of CloudCheckr. They were able to save $60,000 on a free trial, right? Currently, obviously, a very happy customer. In addition, let me show you this, savings plans, right? A lot of organizations are looking at recommendations for savings plans or savings plan analytics, as well as reserved instances and other ways to save money. So CloudCheckr has a brand new savings plan recommendations page, literally released today. This is one of our big optimizations. And CloudCheckr actually is very aggressive in the way that we do our rollouts for new items in our platform. We have multiple teams, multiple engineering teams that each are responsible for their own deployments within the tool, consolidated deployments. And then we do those literally generally on a weekly basis. So today actually was a release for the savings plan recommendations. So here you can see information and some analytics according to the environment to showcase what's uncovered in this environment and what's covered by the compute savings plans. You can also see information by uncovered spend. For example, Lambda, Fargate, EKS, and EC2, what's available. And then you can use this tool to actually take a look at additional recommendations according to what's going on in the environment. But let me show you the savings plan analytics because that's closely related. So the savings plans analytics, this will show you more in-depth information about the savings plans that you already have in play. Very simple and easy to use dashboards. It'll give you good information. So this one will show you coverage for your last month. And of course you can change that, right? 74%, that's not too bad. The realized amount of savings, that's pretty good. So I can take a look at the last month or I can change that as well. So if I wanted to look at the last 3 months, I could easily do that and it would redraw very quickly. So in this test environment, we've saved a tremendous amount of money in this setup. But down here, the analytics pages, the different particular items are very helpful. So in blue, it'll show the savings plans that are covered for EC2 instances and what those amounts are. And at the top in gray, it'll show items that are uncovered or on demand. And reminder that there are different types of workloads that are not always the best option for coverage by savings plans, right? It depends on the scenario. Very spiky workloads or unpredictable workloads may not be the best option. The other item here in yellow, this is a little bit of a problem. So these are items that we've tried to save or cover with the savings plans, but missed. So there's a little bit of wasted commitments here. So there's some piece of information. I'm getting some good questions and comments in the chat. We're going to address this in a little bit. So one of the things that we're talking about is the capability around size and scope. I'm just going to address this real quickly. So I'm one of the top sales engineers at CloudCheckr. I am often pulled into very large deals. And because of that, we have a demo environment that we have set up for a large enterprise. And that's why the numbers are shockingly high, right? We have other environments. Here, let me show you real quick. So we have other environments that I can pull up. Oh, did I spell that wrong? That would be more appropriate to smaller organizations, right? So this one is a smaller demo environment, and you're seeing possible monthly savings on a smaller amount, right? Of course, CloudCheckr can help organizations of all different sizes, and that's important to note, right? So when I talk about the potential monthly savings here, I usually do that in percentage. So the percentage is generally between 10 and 25% of an organization, depending on the spend, depending on their capabilities. Now, the percentage is usually pretty consistent across the board, whether you're a very small organization or a shockingly large organization. The percentages are usually the same. The dollar amount obviously is going to change quite a bit here. So yes, CloudCheckr can be a very useful tool, even for organizations that are very small. And usually I get comments the opposite. Usually I'm showing the small one, and the bigger companies want to see more data. All right, the next item that I'm going to showcase is the CloudCheckr Total Compliance Package. So the Total Compliance Package is the capability of looking at an environment and kind of seeing all of the different regulatory frameworks, 36 different regulatory frameworks right out of the box, to help you understand whether or not your organization is in compliance with many of these benchmarks. HIPAA, NIST, PCI, CIS, ISO, a wide variety of these, and some very interesting and unusual ones as well. And we're planning on adding to these. We're actually planning on an engine change underneath this, but there's a lot of information here, depending on what you're trying to achieve. So for example, let's say your organization has to comply with ISO international standards. So when I pop this open, I see the controls as they relate to public cloud, right? These are very specific to public cloud. We're not going to help you check whether or not you lock your doors at night. But if I wanted to work on one of these specific controls, I can pop open that control, and now I see our proprietary best practice checks from that previous page, right? These are the things that Mike was talking about, all of those 600 plus best practice checks, which are critically important. So the way this works is, in order to get full credit for this control, for this question, all of the answers on your question sheet have to be green. Green means it has been resolved in the environment. So this one is a problem. This one is still unresolved. Yellow means it's a medium priority. This one is red, a high priority problem. So when these are fixed in this environment, they'll turn green. Once all three of these are green, the setting will go from no to yes, and the compliance will improve. And my environment very specifically is kind of set up so that it shows a wide variety of problems in environment, so you can see honestly what a typical environment will often look like at the beginning of an engagement. So ideally what happens is the better your best practice checks look, the better your compliance will look. And then you can see whether or not you're in compliance with HIPAA or NIST or PCI or ISO. One of the best capabilities here is at the top. CloudCheckr has a history feature called Snapback. And Snapback allows me to go backwards in time and take a look at this page that basically previously ran every day as long as you're a CloudCheckr customer. So I can go back in time and I can take a look at how this appeared going back all the way to 2014. Now this is substantial, because if you are an organization and you are getting audited, guaranteed they're going to go back and they're going to take a look at a specific date and time, usually a couple of months back. We know of some competitive tools that will use things like standard out-of-the-box reporting for CloudTrail, right? CloudTrail will only go back 14 days. So if you can only go back 14 days and the auditing company wants to take a look at how you appeared on May 1st, that could be a big problem. So CloudCheckr gives you the capability to see all of that information, go back in time 7 years out of the box, right? Very, very powerful capability here to help you generate that body of evidence that's required for audits when you get audited. Now, I know this conference is very specific to business analytics. So one of the things that I wanted to showcase is our deepest cost reporting and analytics tool. This tool is called the Advanced Grouping Report, and it can be found in the cost module. So the way this works is actually pretty simple. You enter in information that you're trying to find. Hey, CloudCheckr, show me information related month by month, show me the different services, and then you can add additional items. Show me information related to accounts or availability zone, all the way down to instance IDs or tags. So there's a lot of depth to this tool. So let's say you have, for example, a new database project, and you have an executive sponsor on that database project, and they need to be updated every week to see the cost of this environment. So you can set this up. You can filter it by tag. You can filter it by any of the different AWS or Azure environments here, services, etc. And then when you run the report, it'll show you the charts and graphs that are usually pretty helpful. But then down at the bottom, it'll show you meat and potatoes, right? So our critical, gigantic database project is costing almost $1.5 million in the last 2 months. July it was 830, August it was 664. But let's say my team is critically interested just in the RDS, right? The database portion of this. The database portion of this is 250K, right? And what I can do is I can generate this information, and then I can automate this, right? This is where it really becomes helpful. You set up the report the way you want, you send it to this person, let's say that executive sponsor, you include the CSV, the meat and potatoes, you save this, and it will automatically send out that report once per week and make life a lot easier. Okay. Now I know we're running a little low on time here. I wanted to showcase 2 more items. This item is called a security group visualization tool. This is a tool that was requested by one of our largest partners. And basically they wanted like a network administrator port analysis report, right? So basically what this does is it showcases IP addresses and security groups on the left-hand side and ports that are still open on the right-hand side. And sometimes I'll leave this open at trade shows because it's very visual, it's very appealing. And on occasion, you'll get someone that'll walk through and go, wait a minute, IP addresses on the left and ports that are open on the right, that's a mess. This environment is a big mess. You got a lot of potential holes in this type of an environment, right? And that's kind of by design. And of course, you can narrow this down using the options at the top of the page, right? You can narrow this down by VPC, by security group, inbound or outbound traffic. And the last item that I will showcase has a fun story to it. This is a change monitoring tool. Toss a little note into the chat. Let me know how long you've been in IT or in tech or in finance or FinOps. I've been in IT over almost 25 years now. So I remember back in the day, one of my first IT jobs, being responsible as a Windows sysadmin, going into the office, checking the physical servers that were in the back of my room, right, the server closet, physically changing backup tapes, right, that's how long ago we're talking about, and literally going through the event logs to see what was happening the night before, right? Nobody does this anymore, but the concept is important. Right? You do want to monitor your environment. You want to be able to see potential problems or at least get a record of things that have changed. So if my responsibilities lie with, let's say I'm responsible for EC2 instances, Redshift, and database for my entire organization, I can look at a single account or a logical grouping of accounts, and then CloudCheckr has a tool called the change monitoring tool, where I can see what's been going on according to my date range. So red is a deletion, something that has been removed. Green is an addition, and yellow is something that has been modified. So if I'm responsible for EC2 instances being spun up or spun down, and I didn't authorize machines to be deleted or stacks to be added, I can take a look at these, literally drill into them and find out information about what's going on. For many of these, if you click through this, if you have CloudTrail fully enabled, you'll actually get information about the user or system that created them. So if I know Bob in QA is responsible for deleting these instances and I didn't authorize that, I need to go have a conversation with Bob in QA to find out what was going on. But we've been told this is one of our hidden tools, right? These are one of the analytics items that are sometimes very challenging to find or track down, especially in a large environment. So hopefully this has given you a better understanding of some of the features and capabilities of the CloudCheckr platform to kind of showcase what items that we are specifically able to identify and monitor and assist with you, and then give you some options and recommendations for improving your environment, whether it's specific to cost savings, those savings analytics, how much money you can save over time, or other items like security, like taking a look at the security best practice checks, or hundreds of these, to kind of make sure that your environment is locked up nice and tight and safe and secure so you can prevent problems or breaches. All right. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I think we've answered most of the questions that have come through the chat. If I did miss any of these, I apologize, and we can take them offline. Looks like we've answered all of them up here. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.